What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I wish I knew before I got started in van life. Let's get into it. So how I'm going to break this down is I'm going to start from number 5 as of not so much priority. These aren't really in any specific order, but I'm just going to start from 5 and go to number 1. And let's start with number 5. The 5th thing that I wish I knew before I got started in van life was small spaces aren't meant for everybody. If you're claustrophobic, this is not the life for you at all. First off, I built this van. You can watch the van build on my van build series on the channel. When I built this van, I built it for my size and my specifications. I didn't realize till I lived in this on the road. I went on tour last year. I didn't really realize how little of space I had. From my speakers to all the DJ equipment to everything that I had in the van, I ran out of space very quickly. And if you're trying to maneuver around things and get to your bed and crawl over totes and stuff, and I'll get to storage space in a minute, but if you're not comfortable with small spaces, this is not the life for you. While I was out on the road, I actually got to meet a ton of other van lifers and car lifers too. There were people living out of cars. I don't know how they did that. Let me tell you right now, those people are on another level. They lived out of their cars, like in the driver's seat, sleeping in the driver's seat, no other space in the vehicle. Everything else was filled in the back like a car lifer. That's a whole nother level of intense. But for something like this, like Carmilla, my van, this is a cargo van. And I really wish I would have saved money and spent a little more money to get a Sprinter van, because the Sprinter vans have a higher roof. I would have been able to stand in it, and I would have been able to have more space. And that's why Sprinter vans are a better choice when it comes to building a camper. Now, I went with what I could afford, and it's worked fantastic. I would recommend a cargo van. If you're going to do it, get a cargo van about this size or bigger, and just make it work, because you'll have the perfect amount of space you need out of one of these. So number 4 on my list is Starlink was not worth it. I got a Starlink to actually live out of this and have internet and do all of that, and I barely used it. I found that not only was it extremely expensive, it was $165 a month, which at the time I wasn't using it a lot because the power that I had in the van, and I'll get to the power system that I have in this later, but I found very quickly that the power that the Starlink pulled was ridiculous. It pulled so much power. It was ridiculous. It would drain my power system, and then I would have no power for the rest of the night, or no power to really do much at all. So if you are thinking about getting a Starlink before you get into van life, don't even bother. I will tell you right now, don't even bother. Use internet cafes, use a Starbucks, use whatever, because it'll save you not only financially, but in your power system as well, because the amount of power that the Starlink will pull is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So that's my number 4 thing. Let's jump on to the number 3 thing. I'm going to jump to the back of the van, and we're going to talk about the power system. All right, so my number 3 thing on the list is you need to have a good power setup. When it comes to living in a van, if you're going to do it right, I recommend you have a good power system in the van. When I went on tour last year, I only had one of these batteries in the back powering everything, and I'll tell you right now, it was not enough. It was not near enough power for what I was trying to use in the van. Right now, I have just direct power from my shop here into the van, so I'm not worried about it. I'm not using any of this right now. It's literally just sitting here, not being used. But when I went out on tour, I only had one of these batteries, and I ended up getting a second one. This is a deep cycle marine battery. It's for like solar. You can use it for obviously marine boats and stuff. But I only had one when I went out on the road, and I wished that I had 2 because it wasn't enough power for what I was using. Another thing to note is the first time I set this up, I got a 400 watt power inverter. Now, trying to use a 400 watt inverter with what I was running in the van, this was not working at all. It was not near enough power for what I was trying to put in the van. From my gaming PC to a coffee pot, this was not going to work. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to build your own, I recommend you get a good power system. So get something of at least 950 watts or higher to actually power the things you need, like a coffee pot. I never thought that having a 400 watt inverter wouldn't allow me to run a coffee pot, because coffee pots pull anywhere from 1000 to 1500 watts to run. And I didn't even think about that when I started this. So definitely set up a good power system before you get into this, because it's not worth it not having it. Let me tell you that. And I kind of we'll talk on this later, but this is a 7-gallon jug of water that runs my water system. And if you want to learn more about this, you can definitely check out the van build series in my channel here. All right, the number 2 thing on my list is, this is a very lonely life. Van life is a very lonely life. If you're not ready to be alone for hours on end, whether it's driving down the road to your destination or just touring the country, it's a very lonely life. Even with an animal or a pet, it can be extremely lonely. And if you're not okay with that, you probably shouldn't get into this. I went out on my own. I was comfortable being by myself. And if you're okay with being by yourself pretty much all the time, great. Even with a pet or an animal with you, it's a comfort, but when you don't have someone to talk to, it can take very heavy strain on your mental health. It is something to take very serious in consideration when you're thinking about doing something like this, because a lot of people will do it solo. And if you have a partner with you to jump into something like this, even better. That's a huge help. But you will find very quickly that it could add a lot of strain and stress on the relationship that you have with that person living in a small space like this. It's not easy. It is not easy. It's very, very lonely. And when I would go out on the road and I would meet other van lifers, it was a very similar experience, but we all had a similar mindset, and it was almost like a communal, not so much agreement, but it was a community, and we understood each other. We understood the mindset because we were all living the life of a van lifer. And when you would talk to other van life people, you had that connection, like, yeah, you're doing what I'm doing. I get you, that community was there. But it is a very lonely experience. So the number 1 thing on my list of things that I wish I knew before I got into van life, my number 1. If you remember me talking about the water storage in the back, I have 7 gallons of water back there. My number 1 thing is, I wish I knew how fast the water goes. I would blow through 7 gallons of water in 3 or 4 days just on filling my water bottle and just cooking in the van, things like that. I went through water so fast. To anybody getting into this, if you're seriously going to do it, I recommend getting a water tank of at least 10 to 20 gallons of water, because you're going to go through it very quickly. Now, if you can't build your own water system, definitely have water bottles on hand. At least have water, because water is your livelihood. This is your life. This is your life fuel. And I found that my number 1 thing that I wish I knew was how much I was going to go through. I would go, and maybe I was going to shower. Showering would take a third of that water just in one shower. And I tried not to use a ton of it when I showered, but I found that I would blow through water really, really quickly. Not only did I blow through a ton of water quickly, it was really difficult to find places to fill water. If you were out in a city, you go to a city park, you can't just pull up in your van and run a hose to you run a hose from their taps and stuff and run it into your system. A lot of places don't even have water fountains that allow you to fill up water bottles anymore. So that is my number one piece of advice to anybody getting into this. If you're going to do it, make sure you have water, because you won't survive for very long without water. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. This life, if you're getting into van life, it's not easy. I'm going to tell you that straight up front. It's pretty brutal. It seems all luxurious when you see all these super cool, built out, big old Sprinter vans that have thousands of dollars of equipment and lighting, and they look so glamorous, right? Glamping, as they call it. It's not the case. For a majority, for at least 70% of people that get into this, they don't, myself included, they don't have that luxury of having cupboards and a Sprinter van and all the money in the world to throw at it. Most people, like myself at the time when I built this, only had a set budget. And with that, I was building what I could and doing what I could, and there are a lot of things that I learned along the way. These are my top 5 that I wish I knew before I got into this. And if you can do it, do it. This is incredible. I would trade nothing for the experience I had. I wouldn't trade a thing in the world for the experience that I had while living in the van. It was hard, but it was worth it. And that is this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, share this with friends. Thank you for your support. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and you guys could be part of that by hitting like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Stay awesome, stay safe, and rock on, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.